Have you ever wanted to give somebody feedback and tried really hard to give them the feedback that you thought that they needed and noticed that their body language shifted, their shoulders shrunk, and you could tell that they started feeling defensive and they started feeling as though you're judging or attacking them? I know this probably happened for you because this has certainly happened for me. And in this video today, what we're going to talk about is feedback. I'm going to give you several feedback type frameworks that are going to help you give feedback and also help you and others receive feedback. These frameworks are going to be shared with you through stories and through actionable tips that are going to be able to help you as a leader be able to remove that sense of judgment when giving feedback and allow the other person to receive feedback. You're trying to help them and you see their shoulders shrink in and you start noticing that they become defensive. And the reason for this is their primal instincts kick in. And they no longer see you as somebody who's trying to help them and help them grow as a person or as a leader. They start seeing you as an adversary. They start seeing you as somebody who's attacking them. And when that happens, they shut down. And your feedback, although trying to be helpful, is landing nowhere and is no longer helping them in any way. I'm Michael Esposito, and I've helped leaders like you, and I've helped teams like yours grow and learn through feedback. In my Toastmasters meetings, we provide feedback on a weekly basis, and we work through the challenges of public speaking and receiving feedback just like you're feeling and seeing in your workplace. And if this video and my videos give you any value, then please make sure to subscribe for weekly content just like this one. Let's jump right into the framework here. So we're going to jump into one of our first frameworks, which is the test loop. And in this, it talks about targeting and a couple other ideas. But what I want to share with you is a real world experience from one of my workshops. I work with many different types of people, from leaders of nonprofit organizations to corporate executives. And something that I notice on a very regular basis when providing feedback with someone is they do become defensive and they want to share and express why they're actually saying or doing what they're doing. And one of the things I like to do is bring that guard down a little bit by building trust with them. And so what I want to say to you here is that when you're providing feedback, one of the best ways that you could build trust with someone that you're providing feedback is to just share with them what they're doing well. So before jumping into providing feedback for them or telling them all the things that they need to improve on, just start talking about what they did well. So I was in a workshop recently and I was working with an executive team, and we had one of the women come up, and she is a pretty good speaker. She typically goes on the Zooms and sells their product and does the face-to-face interactions to also share and sell their product. So when she went up, she had a couple ideas as to what she wanted to work on, and she said that to me. She said, "Hey, I really want to work on removing ums and filler words from when I speak, and I also want to sound more confident when I speak." So I was like, cool, awesome. So we gave her a big round of applause. She went up to the front of the room, and when she got up to the front of the room, she started sharing. She shared the company, organization that she works for, who they are, why it would make sense for the other organization or her client or prospect to do business with them. And then she got into some facts, details, and a little storytelling that wrapped it all up really nicely for her. She finished, we applauded her. And the first thing she did was look at me and said, "I said 3, 4, 5 times, and I lost track of my story." And she just started spiraling into all of the things she did wrong. And I looked at her and I smiled and I said, "Stop." And she said, okay. Well, what did you see that I need to fix?" And I said, "Nothing." And she kind of looked at me going, "What do you mean, nothing?" And the organizer of the workshop kind of looked at me as well going, "Wait a second, now aren't you here to give feedback?" And the first thing I said to her was, "I want to applaud you for your bravery, for being the first one in our group to step up on stage and share. That right there is building trust with her, is saying, hey, I recognize that it's not easy to get in front of an audience and just start sharing. And so I want to applaud that first. The second thing is she brought up her ums and she brought up where she got lost in the story. I could jump on that and say, yeah, you said 5 ums, and yeah, I did notice where you got a little caught up and hung up in your story. But instead of doing that, I focused on the strength, which was she was actually aware. She was self-aware while speaking. She recognized that she had 5 or so ums. She recognized that she got caught up in her story and lost her place and was able to restart or just keep going through. And that right there is a plus. So I acknowledge that as a strength. And we acknowledge the weakness and we acknowledge the room for improvement of, yeah, you said a few ums, try to reduce your filler words, and when you get lost in your story, just take a pause, take a breath, and move on. But what happened there was we built trust with each other. I built trust with her as a speaker to where she was able to receive my feedback and know that the next time that she speaks, she's not going to get beat up. And I built trust with the audience members in that workshop to where they now had trust in me that they can come up and not feel judged. They can come up and share, be their authentic selves, and know that I'm not going to judge them. I'm going to help them. I'm going to highlight what they did well, and I'm going to acknowledge what they need improvement on. And so that story right there culminates in the fact that we also want to ask if the other person wants to receive feedback. And so one of the first things I do in my workshops when providing feedback is I ask. I ask that young lady, are you open to some feedback? I asked the audience members when they came up, are you open to some feedback? And one of the first things that came to mind was, but what if our manager is the one saying to us, are you open to some feedback? How do we tell them no if we really don't want their feedback? And I'm reminded of Brené Brown and her books and her knowledge and her deep understanding of creating boundaries. And so I shared this with this group in that we have to create boundaries around everything that we do, in that if you want to receive feedback, then great. If you're in a mental place to receive feedback, then great. Say yes to that feedback. But some people are not in the right headspace to receive feedback. They might have had a little stage fright, or they might have been uncomfortable in what they just shared, and they're just not ready to receive the feedback. So when you check in with them, allow them to say no. And if they do say no, just reschedule. Say, hey, can I provide feedback with you 24 hours from now or at a scheduled meeting? Try to provide feedback at a time that the other person is open to that feedback. And if you're the one receiving the feedback, same thing. Create those boundaries. Let the person know who's providing you feedback that you're ready for the feedback. And if you're not, then let them know, hey, I'm not ready to receive feedback right now. I might be ready tomorrow. Why don't we schedule some time? So make sure to check in with your team. Make sure to check in with the person before providing the feedback. And then if they say yes, then give it to them. Build on their strengths and acknowledge their weaknesses to move forward and to grow. If this video is giving you any value, I want to share with you that I create videos and content like this for leaders just like you, and my foundation is communication. So what I've done is put together a PDF on communication, and you can just download it just by clicking on the link below here. All right, let's jump into the test framework for you all here today. All right, first up is T for target. As leaders, we have to know what our targets are all around the boards, right? And it's no different when it comes to feedback. We need to know exactly what we're providing feedback on, and we need to share that with the person that we're going to be providing feedback to. So nobody should be caught off guard when we're providing feedback. They should know that you're taking a look at what they're doing and analyzing it, or that you're going to be providing feedback on it. You know, you want to come in with this idea that you're there to help them grow, and you're there to help them develop whatever it is that they're working on. So in this feedback stage, it's not a place of judgment, it is truly a place of growth. So when you're going in to this conversation with them, or you're sitting as a person that's going to be observing them, let them know, here's what I'm looking for. here are 1 to maybe 3 key things that you want to let them know about. When I provide feedback in a workshop, I make sure that the participants know what I'm looking for in terms of feedback. So before the speaker goes up, I'll let them know I'm looking for stage presence, speech, and eye contact. In terms of stage presence, how are you standing? And are your hands in your pocket? Not something I like. Speech, are you using filler words? Are you moving or talking too fast? And eye contact, are you making eye contact with us, moving along in the audience? When the speaker's done, I'll let them know, hey, you did really well with stage presence. You could have done more eye contact. Now they know what I'm going to provide feedback on and they can prepare for it. So when going into observing someone or providing feedback for someone, make sure that you have a clear target in mind and make sure that they're aware of what that target is. It's going to help everyone in providing the best feedback possible. Our second letter is E, and this is for experiment. This is where feedback becomes fun because this is where collaboration takes place. So in this experiment phase, you're collaborating with your team members. So say they're working on a slide deck for a really important project in your organization. In this experimenting, you're asking them, hey, what would it look like if you used this slide? And they're going to give you a response. Well, what if I used this slide? Or what would it look like if we used this picture or these ideas on the slide? And they might bring up different pictures and different ideas. So in this experiment phase, you're providing them some feedback in order for them to improve the slide deck, and they're receiving that feedback and now giving you their input to where now it's not just you giving them feedback, it's them receiving the feedback and then acknowledging it and bringing it all together. So this experiment phase is really, really cool because it's taking your feedback and it's actually applying it in real time. What I like to do when I have participants up in front of the room and sharing and providing feedback for them, when I'm in this experiment phase with them, I'm asking them, hey, do you want to play with me a little bit? And they kind of get a little smile on their face and I say, I'm going to give you a couple pointers. I'm going to ask you to do a couple things. Are you open to those things? And typically they'll say yes. Sometimes they might be a little bit shy and say no. And then I'll ask them, and how do you see yourself doing these things? Maybe it's speaking at a higher volume or using their hands with more gestures. And they'll start telling me stories about how they've used their hands in other stories or how they do speak with more volume when they're speaking with their friends. And so when they provide that for me and while we're in this experiment phase, I'm able to go to those spaces and say to them, all right, let's act as though you're at a family party, using your hands, speaking a little bit with a little bit more volume, and let's take it from there. So in this experiment phase, in this collaboration phase, they're giving me some information that now I'm able to help them really highlight for their next talk or when they're going up again. So in this experiment phase, we're just trying new things out. We're testing things, we're seeing how they work. And in this experiment phase, what's really cool about it is we're providing them feedback, but they're also giving us information that's going to help us give them even better feedback. So our third part of this framework is S, and that stands for support. In so many of my frameworks, I talk about support, and that's because this is what separates a good manager from a leader. A good manager tells people what to do, how to do it, and moves on with their day. A leader tells people how to do it and then supports them through it. So you've just experimented with your team. You've just shared with them how they might be able to do something. Now the question is, how can I support you? See, that's what great leaders ask, is how can I support you in this? And so one of the suggestions I always have for my teams when I'm working with them is ask them, how can I support you? Should I block off some time so that we can talk about this later? What's something I can do for you during the meeting or during your presentation that's going to make you feel confident, that's going to make you feel supported by me? What are the things that you need? Maybe they need to get pictures from some database that we don't have access to. So as a leader, how can you support them? How can you get those pictures for them? Maybe they need data points from a space that they can't access. As a leader, how can you support them and get them those data points? So in this support phase, you are supporting them in the feedback that you just gave them, and you're letting them know, I'm here for you. I got your back, and I'm gonna do what you need me to do in order for you to be successful. When you think about your team and you think about providing feedback for your team or for the people that surround you, think about how you can support them with that feedback. Not just give them suggestions, not just give them tips and tricks on what to do, but truly for them to know that you're in it with them by asking them, how can I support you? So I want you to just think back about our public speaking examples that I've been giving. It might be that you have a team member who's giving a presentation and they have a couple slides that are going to be going up. In support, you might say, how can I support you? They might say, can you help me transition from slide to slide? Or they might say, can you help me keep my time? You know, they might have a 10-minute presentation and they want to know that each slide is timed to a point where they don't feel rushed towards the end or they don't drag it out too long. And so maybe you're in the back of the room just giving them a signal, letting them know, all right, move on to that next slide. So ask your team, how can I support you? So you've experimented with them, you've worked on something with them, now support them through that role in order to see the best out of them. And finally, our last T, which is for track. We need to track results. We need to track results to know, are we onto something? Did we miss something? And we need to track results to know, how can we do this again? This is a loop. This is a cycle that we're going to go through over and over and over again. And this is why the first T is so important of setting this target so that the team members know, what are we providing feedback on? In our track part of the framework, we are setting data points and we've agreed on them ahead of time. That's why it's so important that we set that target together, because this is moving us from subjective opinions into objective measurement. This whole thing is about improving as a team. In our test loop here, we're working together. We are collaborating. We're bringing feedback in order to grow. We're bringing feedback in order to acknowledge what we did well and what we need to improve on. And we're bringing feedback in order to test, in order to set targets, and in order to track what we're doing and how we're doing it. We just went through how to give feedback as a leader by using the test feedback loop. By setting a target with your team, making it clear, making it something that you can both work towards. By experimenting with them and collaborating with them, bringing their input and making your feedback part of their success strategy. By supporting them, showing them that you're there for them and you're in their corner. And by bringing it all together by tracking all of the data points. This test loop is going to help you provide feedback as a leader in a way that removes the judgment from the other person. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into part 2 of this whole feedback video. And in part 2 of this, we're going to jump into my growth framework on how to receive feedback. Because you see, as a leader, it's not just about giving feedback, it's also about learning how to receive feedback so that you can grow. And what we'll do is we're going to break this down into a part 2 video for you. So if you're following along with me on my YouTube channel, then stay tuned for next week's video on the growth feedback framework. And if you just came across my channel, thanks for joining us. Just jump into the video right here. As always, everyone, please make sure to like and subscribe, download your free PDF, and stay happy and stay healthy. And I'll see you all in part 2.